Man, it's Monday again. You know what
Ugh,
that means? You know what Monday
it
means? It's the worst
means
day of the week, man.
we have to sit here and talk. We have all the rest of the week ahead of us.
Yeah, so much to do. Worst day of the week because the work week starts. You mean all these things? So much negative, huh?
So much.
Well, anyway, um, oh, we're live. Here we go. Hey, welcome back to Negative Outlook. My name's Gabe,
My name's Caleb.
and you guys know what we're here for. So how depressing is
Okay,
that, dude? Come on.
exactly. Let me ask you guys, could you feel either the cringe or just
Yeah.
the
That
disgust
just
in
felt
our voices?
awkward, dude. Come
That
on. Yeah.
was
Also,
terrible.
we
I
got
was
someone in chat. Joshy, subs up. What's up, man? How you doing, brother? Thanks for stopping
Hey
in.
Josh.
Interrupting the bit for a second there, but yeah, let's get back to it. So,
Oh, no, you're good. I was just gonna say, how disgusting would it be to start every week like
yeah.
that?
Yeah. It just seems so tough, you know? It's and it you can get caught in that. You can get caught in that. So, it's that negative self-talk that we are going to be discussing today. So, what are we talking about today, Caleb?
How to stop, well, not how to, but what is negative self-talk? How to stop it?
Yeah.
Just anything about self-talk. Maybe we'll just kind of help discover what it is. I'm sure we've all heard the terms negative and self-talk, and we know what it is, but no one really pays attention all the time to monitoring the negative self-talk.
Yeah. Yeah. So today we're just going to be talking about the effects of negative self talk and kind of how to battle around it because you can't completely eliminate negative self talk. It's always going to be there. So we can crunch into this and let me see what we
I
got
got
here.
it. I got it pulled up right here.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, according to the internet, sources specifically proactivehm.com. So we're going to the Australian mental health
Yeah. Okay.
website here. So here we go.
Yeah.
Negative self talk is any inner dialogue that could be limiting your ability to believe in yourself and your own abilities to reach your potential. It is any thought that reduces you and your ability to make positive changes in your life or your confidence in your ability to do so. So it's kind of a mouthy, longer
Yeah.
definition, but it hits it right on the head. And it's not as complex and long as I made it sound. I just like the dramatic pauses.
Yeah. If you were to sum it up, it almost sounds like doubt. Like what?
Yeah, any bit of doubt, any
Yeah.
single thought that you doubt yourself or your confidence.
Yeah. So so yeah, today we're going to be talking about how to avoid that and how to kind of construe it in your life to make it less prominent and make your days flow by with a more positive vibe. So, do you want to jump in at any certain point? Do you have something you want to bring up? Yeah,
Yeah,
let's do
yeah.
it.
So one of the reasons that I've actually wanted to go back and talk about something so simple is for I don't know if any of you guys know or have watched or listened to some of our old episodes, but I am in the aviation program. And something I've personally observed, this is purely speculative, but there's a few people in the program that know very well what they're doing, but they like to make sure other people know that they're doing very well as well. If you catch my drift, not throwing a jab, just very proud of what they know.
Yeah.
And whenever I try to learn a new skill, I know as a teacher that drives me nuts when they're like, "I know, I know, I know." You
Right.
don't know, and so I'm almost like kind of harsh on myself when it comes to starting something new. And so, if I have a rougher flight where I messed up a maneuver, I'm kind of like mad at myself. I want to get back out there and perfect it. So I'm like studying and trying to mentally, remember the procedures. And it's a good drive, but at the same time, overall, the negative self talk is kind of degrading.
Mm-hmm.
And, you kind of get fed up with it and you realize, why am I telling myself this? Why?
Right.
And you realize it's just because you're stressed. It's not because you're stupid or incapable. And so I think it's important to take a moment and kind of, um, just out loud talk about how to stop this from continuing. Because we all have moments where the negative talk is winning. We all do.
Mm-hmm.
So why not just sit down and kind of, you could share an
Confront
experience
it.
with it, and then, yeah, we can
Yeah.
talk about confronting it and getting past it.
Yeah. So, that's awesome. My favorite thing to do when it comes to these negative thoughts, whether it's anxiety, depression, whatever you're struggling with, even if it's a question of doubt, when you're going through your day, my favorite thing to do is to question the thought. Because a lot of times when it comes to anxiety, stuff like that, is the thoughts are super irrational. And so you have a fear of something that has a very low chance of actually happening. But because the chance is there of it happening, it kind of prevents you from moving forward, prevents you from taking the next step. So my favorite thing to do in that situation is to question my thought. So I'm approaching an anxious situation. I have a thought, and then I stop and I say, "Well, is that thought truly rational?" And you really have to separate yourself from the situation because you don't think rationally when you're anxious. You just don't. And so being able to pull yourself back, take that step back and review the situation and then really question that thought you have and say, is this really true? What I'm thinking, am I in danger? Is this really a risk of happening? Um, just being able to take that step back and do that, I think is huge. So I think questioning your thoughts is super important.
And I think that's huge because before you can even question like why, you have to be aware that they're there. And
Mhm.
so if you're questioning why, you have that awareness. Sometimes just practicing like not even as in depth as questioning first, but noticing,
Mhm.
like if you make a mistake and you're like, "Oh, I'm stupid." And you notice you say that, and now all of a sudden it's a tendency and it's becoming more frequent, then you've become aware and now you're going, "Why?"
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I feel like kind of the next step past why is almost um, out loud, intentionally practicing positive self talk.
Mhm.
Because, it's kind of like any new skill you learn, you're going to be really, really rough at it at first, right?
Right.
You're not going to just instantly go from I hate life to I'm super happy with everything at this exact moment.
Mhm.
Like that's not how it goes. Realistically, it's just like in basketball. You got to learn basic dribbling before you can go and dunk like Michael
Yeah.
Jordan. So
Yeah.
like the pause there.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just important to realize you have to actually make yourself practice this new idea. And it's okay to not be great at it.
Mhm. I think so. One thing that kind of pairs in well with initially questioning the thought when you start to have these anxious feelings or kind of these sad thoughts is also remember your physiology. I know I brought this up a couple episodes ago, but it's the same thing. Like as soon as you feel like that hot itch, right, like on your back, you immediately go to scratch it. Like it's just your body's reaction, and then you also have a mental reaction. So a lot of the times in those situations, when it comes to anxiety, it's your physical response. So your body, say like your heart starts racing, your palms start sweating, and then immediately the mind goes. And where energy or where the focus goes, energy flows. And so when you start to focus on the improper things like being anxious or the situation at hand, it starts to make you really devolve into that pathway. And so one thing to do is to remember your physiology. So think back to a time when you were happy, or think back to a time where you were in a good situation, and remember how your body felt. Like you had a smile on your face, you like rub your hands together because you're happy, all of these things. So if you can kind of reciprocate those feelings and change your physiology, it can help you, it gives you a fighting chance in the mental side of it as well. So if you can question the thoughts and then also convince your body, like, yeah, man, we're in this and I'm happy about it, see it more so as a challenge opposed to something that's being thrown at you in a negative way.
Absolutely. And the fact that a lot of times we say, "Oh, I've said this before. I've said this in another episode. This is
Hmm.
kind of similar to this." I think what people need to understand is it's not rocket science to find the answer. We're not necessarily out here putting this content out saying this is exactly what you're missing and you'll find happiness.
Hmm.
It's kind of one general scheme that you tailor to each situation. And that's why we go through the troubles of doing something very similar, like getting out of a funk and, climbing out of like your most lowest state. If you look at the procedure, it's very similar, or
Hmm.
being overstressed.
Yeah.
It's all so finely tuned, but it's the same thing as why do you watch other YouTubers, It's because you want to see their content applied to something different, You want
Yeah.
to see someone be stupid in a grocery store and then you want to see him go be stupid at an amusement park.
Yeah.
So I think it's just important to realize that there is one simple kind of plan
Mhm.
and then you have to obviously make certain adjustments. So I think it's okay that we're repeating ourselves. I think that validates what we're saying, if
Yeah.
anything.
Right. I think it's kind of similar to you ask one person like, "Hey, how do I get to Main Street?" It's like, "Oh, take this road for a couple minutes and then head left, yada yada." And then there's the other person that's like, "Take this road for 1.3 miles, then turn left on West M32." So there's different ways to explain it, but at the end, you always get to the same point. And so I feel like that's exactly how people are. Is we're all kind of seeking the same truth. It just is how we're interpreting it and how we absorb the information is going to be different. So that's kind of how we're trying to display it.
Exactly. And I've always grown up with kind of this mindset of the way you do one thing is the way you do all things. So if you're slacking off in school, or if you're still in a sport or working and you're slacking off in one of those areas, you're going to slowly slack off in every other area because it sets precedents, like we've
Mhm.
talked about before. Whereas if you excel in one area and you become a perfectionist, you start to have those tendencies towards many other things.
Mhm.
I've noticed that there's a direct correlation between schoolwork, amount of income, and how well we're staying on the podcast. Those three go up, and physical fitness. They go
Mhm.
up and down together. When one falls, they kind of all start to trend down.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're doing here is we're focusing on the negative self-talk that has gotten kind of out of control,
Mhm.
and we're just working on kind of pushing it down because you're
Yeah.
always going to have negative self-talk. It's how can you limit it and become let the positivity kind of dominate the negativity.
Yeah. And I think a really important takeaway from that is you will never be perfect to yourself. Everybody always thinks that they have room to improve. And I believe that everybody is always going to think that they have room to improve. But to somebody else, you might be perfect. Like all of our moms probably think, well, probably not perfect, but to them, we're perfect, right? So,
Well, if the neighbor's like asking about us, we're
yeah,
just perfect.
yeah, we have the perfect son. So yeah, so that's always how it is. You're never going to become the person that you think is going to be the perfect version of yourself. You're always going to be working towards that, but there's a level of self-love and respect that you need to have for yourself and understand that you should love who you are going through the process while still striving to become that person that you want to be looking back at you in the mirror.
I was actually just going to bring that up because we've talked about that before as well.
Mhm.
You have to step outside of yourself and see you as if you're someone who loves you. As soon as you do
Yes.
that, you will realize that it's not that big of a deal. Oh,
Mhm.
like if you have siblings, you understand when they make like this, when you watch them make a really stupid decision and they're kind of feeling the consequences, and you sit there and they're like panicked on themselves, and you go, dude, it's not that bad. Like
Mhm.
you get stuck home for 2 weeks and can't play your video games. Like
Mhm.
it's not the end of the world. It's not that bad. But to them, it's like it's everything because they screwed up.
Yeah.
So sometimes, you need that outside perspective, but try to do that for yourself. It's crazy. It works so well.
Yeah, yeah, being able to take that step back and talk to yourself like you would talk to a loved one, it's crazy. I mean, I've had a really hard time with that in the past, trying to
Yeah.
change that perspective because it's
It's
like,
hard.
yeah, it's like you're not gonna like if your mom makes a mistake, you're not gonna be like, you stupid idiot, what are you doing? Like you would to yourself,
Right.
right? So it's weird to have that mental switch, but if you can kind of start pushing it and start enforcing it more and more in your life, it does start to swap there. And
And and shout out Ty Verdes, but that's kind of the idea of helping everyone but yourself, is when you're so comforting to anyone out there. It could be a total stranger who's, messed up enough times to be in prison, and you're being, confident, positive, constructive with them. And then as soon as forget to tie your shoe properly and it comes undone and you're just like,
mhm.
oh, I'm stupid,
Yeah.
stupid.
Whole day's
You know,
ruined.
it's
Yeah.
it's like you wouldn't call anyone else stupid, so why call yourself stupid?
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. Um, so have you ever, I mean, it's kind of a bad way to explain it. You've probably seen the example before, but it's like the filling the water bottle example of like negative talk.
Yeah.
Like how you have a water bottle and it starts with a negative talk in it. So it's like kind of like dirt and mud at the bottom. And then you take the cap off, start filling it up with water, and the water is positive thoughts. And so you fill it up halfway. It's going to look a little bit clearer, but there's still all that negative in there. So like you can feel the positive and you can feel the positive in, but the negative is not always gonna go away, you know? So one thing is to be patient with yourself while trying to fill in with positive self-talk. It's important to be very patient with yourself. It's important to be understanding, and it's important to love yourself along the process, because it's not a switch. You can't just flip it and then just be smiling and all giddy the next day. It's going to take constant water to wash out that mud, where eventually you won't even notice the mud anymore. It's just going to be water, but it takes so much time, and it takes persistence and consistency, and it's something that is going to take a while to do.
And if it's anything worth accomplishing,
Mhm.
it's not going to be overnight. It's not. We have
Yeah.
gotten so much better at podcasting, at doing so many things that we're still doing now because we've continued nonstop to pour that water in.
Yeah.
It's not because of luck. It's not because, I fell into some money. It's not because, well, maybe I did. No, I'm just kidding. But
Yeah.
it's because we've just decided that it's worth it.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as you know it's worth it, and let me tell you, it is worth it because if I compare right before this podcast, kind of my negative outlook, if you will,
Mhm.
and yeah, Joe and Josh laughed to themselves. Their joke finally won the internet.
Yes, negative
Um,
outlook.
but like seriously, guys, if it's worth it, I'm telling you, it's worth it. It
Yeah.
is 100%.
Everything that's good in life takes time. Truly does.
And one thing you should think of is we're taught since we're, second graders, treat others the way you want to be treated, but treat you how you would treat others.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we as you grow up, it's really important to flip that role. And I think that's a really good point. Growing up, we're taught treat others how you would want to be treated. Yeah, mic drop, dude. Treat others how you'd want to be treated. But as you grow up, we become better human beings. So start treating yourself how you would treat other people. And if you treat others poorly, then don't follow that. You gotta stay.
Right. It's a yin and yang. It's a
Yeah.
yin and yang.
Yeah, it's a three-legged table. So you need everything to be working properly for you to follow these rules. But once you do, they're important
Absolutely.
rules. So
But yeah, guys, just remember to kind of sum it up here. Become aware of the negative self-talk. Ask yourself why. Challenge your negative self-talk. You know you're better than this. Practice your positive self-talk. Write down some affirmations and say them. It
yes.
feels dumb, but before you know it, you will be as happy as Gabe and I. No, don't compare. I'm
No,
just kidding.
not at all, please.
And then just treat yourself like you're someone who loves you. That's it. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
It sounds a lot scarier than it really is, I promise. And within the next 66 days, as we always say, tell me it hasn't at least gotten better.
Yes.
I challenge you.
Come back in 2 months and 6 days to this video and let us know how your negative self-talk has been
It
changed.
it will have a thumbnail.
Yes. So so you'll be easy to find it. So is there anything else you want to add to today's episode, Caleb?
Guys, just remember how terrible you felt with our intro compared to our outro. It's because we
Yes.
got that positive energy. We got the positive
Boom,
self-talk.
boom,
If you need
boom,
it right now,
boom.
you're doing great. You're crushing it. This is going to be your week to make a big change, but it's because of you, not because of anything else. You got this, and treat yourself the way you treat others if you're a nice person.
Yes. Beautifully said. Well done, Caleb. And to
Thank
all the
you.
viewers, thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate you all, and we will see you next time. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Thanks again, Josh.